welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan, and this is a little bit different of a view to start out my video because I am starting off my very first reading vlog. I'm really excited to start this. I am going to be reading, as you already know from the title, the entire series of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, which are right behind me here on this shelf. Here's 4 of the books. There are actually 5 in total, but I only own 4 of them, but I will be reading all 5. So if you are not familiar with the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, it's a very popular movie that is about these 4 best friends in high school who discover this pair of pants that miraculously fits all 4 of them. And they have totally different body types. And so it's kind of impossible that any pair of pants would be able to fit all 4 of them, but they find a pair of jeans that does. And so they take that to mean that these pants must have magical powers. It must mean that they're gonna do great things for all of these friends. And so during this summer where they are going to be split up and going to different parts of the world for their summers, they decide to send the pants in a rotation to all of them so that they all can have a turn wearing the pants and discovering their magical powers that will do great things for them. So it's a really, really fun story if you've seen the movie or have read the books. I actually have seen the first movie probably 5 to 10 times, and I've seen the second movie I think only once. And so I'm really excited to read this series of books. I actually did not know that it was a book series until one day at a library sale I saw these books for sale, and so I snatched them up for $1 a piece. But I can't find the 5th book in this edition, which is a bummer. And let me actually show you these books. So here's what the books look like. This is the first book, just the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. The sequel is called The Second Summer of the Sisterhood. The third one is called Girls in Pants. And the 4th one is called Forever in Blue. And then the 5th one is called Sisterhood Everlasting. But I don't believe that they actually make the 5th book in this edition. And so I'm not going to bother buying it in a different edition. I think I'm just going to get it on audio. But that's an issue for future me, because I have to get started with the first book before I can get to, the 5th book. And so I'm going to be vlogging my experience. There will be spoilers for the series in this video. So if you haven't seen the movies or you haven't read the books and you're still planning to, definitely don't watch this, it'll spoil it. But the books came out like between 2001 and 2011, I think. And the movies, I think, were 2005 and 2008. So it's been several years since they've been out. So I'm not really worried about spoiling anybody, but this is your warning. I will be reading the books, obviously, in order. And so spoilers will most likely be in order. But regardless, I am going to get started with this series, and I will be back with updates when I have them. About 100 pages in to the first book, and I have some thoughts. So the first thing is that having seen the movies before, it's been a while, but having seen them and now reading the book, I'm realizing that it's making a case for watching movies before reading books being the better way to experience them. Because what I really love about reading this book now is that I can so vividly picture all of the characters. And for this specifically, the characters in the movies match the descriptions of the characters in the book perfectly. Like, Blake Lively is the perfect Bridget, Alexis Bledel is the perfect Lena, everyone, it matches up perfectly. So it kind of got me thinking, I've always been a read the book first kind of person. In books, I become so much more invested in the characters, you spend so much more time with the story in a book than you do with the movie. So I think that reading the book first, you get to fully immerse yourself and enjoy the story for that much longer without being spoiled. But this is making me think that maybe now, if I ever watch the TV show or movie first, then I can have a better picture of the characters. So then when I go to the book and I get that extra time and those extra scenes and things, then I have such a good picture of this character in my head that it makes those more enjoyable. I don't know, so it just got me thinking because this is such a fun experience. So let me know if you are a book first or a movie first kind of person. And if you are a book first kind of person, like I was, have you ever thought about seeing the movie first and getting to know the characters in your minds and maybe that making it a better reading experience for you? I don't know, something I've never thought about, but this has got me thinking and I am enjoying it. Other than that, there are already some differences that I'm noticing between the book and the movies. The very first is that the 4 girls in the book did not discover the pants together like they did in the movie. And I think that movie scene is such a fun one at the beginning where they're at the thrift store and they're trying on the pants together and they decide to buy them, whatever. That's a fun scene. It's just a little different in the book. In the book, Carmen, finds the pants herself at the thrift store, kind of tucks them away in her closet, doesn't think about them. And then when all the girls are over at her house, they all try them on together. So it's the same kind of scene, it's just a little different. Other differences, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I don't remember Bridget having a twin brother in the movie. You guys can let me know if that is not true and if she did also have it in the movie, but I don't know if it'll play a part later on or not. As well as Lena's story is very different. So to start, Effie, her little sister, is coming with her to Greece right away, and I don't think she did that until the second summer in the movies. Again, it's been a while, so let me know if that's not true, but I'm pretty sure that Lena goes by herself the first time, but she goes with her sister. And then the biggest difference is that Lena's grandparents love Kostas. They want to set Lena up with him from the beginning, which in the movie, that's pretty much Lena's whole story, is that her grandparents don't like Kostas's family. And so Lena and him kind of have a Romeo and Juliet type romance where it's kind of forbidden because their families don't get along, but they do in the book. So I'm a little curious about what her story is going to be, what the conflict is going to be, if her grandparents already love him and they're actually trying to set her up with him. So I'm just curious where that's going to go, but I just wanted to check in about 100 pages in, say that I'm really enjoying it. It's such a fast, easy read. The words are pretty big and they're very spaced out. They're in a fun font, which is fun to read. I'm very satisfied with it so far and excited to keep reading. I am back reading in bed again. I am right now about halfway through the book, about 140 pages in, and it's 280 pages long. And I just wanted to say that the conflict has arisen between Lena and Kostas and their families, their grandparents. They do have a disagreement in this book, so it all did come around to be similar to the movie. So I guess I'm glad about that, or I don't know. I have no opinion about it. I just thought that I would share that it's not all that different from the movie. And otherwise, the only other difference that has come about so far is that Tibby has a love interest, which is interesting. I don't think she did in at least the first movie. I don't remember Tibby's part in the second movie right now. Yeah, that's it. Still enjoying it. Flying through it, hoping to get a good chunk of it done tonight so that either I can hopefully finish it tonight or tomorrow and I can get into the second book. I am ready to wrap up the first book now because I have finished it. I really enjoyed it right off the bat. Like I've said a couple times in this video, it's a really fun read. It's nostalgic to me because of the movies, and it was so much fun reading about these characters. I think I will go ahead and give a little summary of the book just in case you haven't read it or it's been a while. Now that I've read the whole thing, I'll talk about all of the four girls' stories. I'll talk a little bit more about the differences, and then I'll get into the next book. So I think I've already given the basic summary of the premise of the book, which is about these four friends who find this pair of pants that's magic. It fits all of them, and they send it to each other throughout a summer. So there are four characters. So the first one is Bridget. She is played by Blake Lively in the movie, so picture her. She's super tall, super blonde, super athletic, and she is spending her summer at a soccer camp in Mexico. One of the counselors is a guy a few years older than her that she's interested in. And because she's so attractive and tall and blonde, she catches his attention and is able to flirt with him and kind of bend the rules of, you know, what a counselor is able to do. And he's trying to resist her, saying, you know, she's too young, but she works her charm. And so that's what her story is about, is kind of pursuing this guy. Very, very similar to what's in the book or what's in the movie. I really didn't notice many differences at all with Bridget's story. The only thing that's missing from the book is one of the scenes from the movie at the very end where the guy comes to her hometown after she goes home from camp and basically says, like, we had a fun summer, we can't date or anything, but call me when you're in college. That scene happens when she's still at camp. It doesn't happen when she goes home. So it does still happen, but I thought it was kind of fun that he like chased her to her hometown or however that worked out. So that is Bridget. And then there is Carmen, who is played by America Ferrera, and her parents are divorced, and her mom is Puerto Rican and her dad is white, and she is going to visit her dad in a different state for the summer. And when she gets there, she finds out that her dad is now engaged to a new woman, and this woman has 2 children. And so she finds out that her fun summer with her dad is turning out to be a summer with his whole new family, and she kind of feels like she's being replaced, like her and her mom are being replaced. The new family is a typical like all-American white blonde family, and she feels like she's just being treated unfairly, and again, like her dad wants to replace her. And so she is dealing with that. Differences with Carmen's story at the wedding between her dad and her new stepmom. In the movie, her dad pulls her up into the wedding halfway through and says like, I want you to be standing up here with us, which is kind of a nice moment for her to feel truly included, even though in the movie she's wearing the jeans, which is why it's kind of funny that, you know, she's standing up in a wedding party wearing a pair of jeans. But in the movie, or in the book, he doesn't do that during the actual ceremony. What he does instead is lets her into like their photos. So that is Carmen. And then there is Tibby, who I don't remember the actress's name, but I'll put her name here. And I'll probably put pictures for all of the characters. This is my reminder to do that to myself. So Tibby is the only one staying home for the summer, and she gets a job at a supermarket, and she spends a lot of her time there. And while she is working one day, there is a little girl, or like a, I don't know how old she is, 12-year-old girl or something, who collapses in the middle of the store. And Tibby goes up to her and, you know, sees what's wrong, whatever, follows her into the ambulance to make sure she's okay. And then afterwards, when that little girl is recovered from that fainting spell, Tibby and the little girl become friends, unlikely friends, because Tibby is kind of the too cool character, so she doesn't want a little girl hanging around her. But this little girl, Bailey, is so nice and genuine. They hang out throughout the summer, and Tibby's making like a documentary because she's interested in film, and Bailey helps her with that. And then later it's revealed that Bailey has leukemia and that her time is limited. So that makes Tibby feel bad for her, but also makes her appreciate her a little bit more. I think I mentioned in one of my updates that Tibby has a love interest in this book, different than Brian, who's the gamer, who she kind of gets to know later on. And I think in the second movie they're dating, but different than him. It's a guy from her school that she thinks is attractive. And by the end of the book, she realizes she doesn't need him, which is good to see. But yeah, other than that, most of Tibby's story is pretty similar. And then the last character is Lena, who is played by Alexis Bledel. And Lena's whole thing is that she's beautiful. In the book, she's unknowingly beautiful. You know, she's too pretty for her own good. And because of that, she actually kind of plays down her own prettiness and is super timid because she knows that that's kind of the only thing that people see about her when they first look at her, is that, oh, she's so pretty. But she tries to be, you know, more than that. She paints, she's very nice, she's super sweet, and her family is from Greece. And so she spends her summer in Greece visiting her grandparents, and Lena's story is the most different, like I said, between the book and the movie. So in the movie, when she gets to Greece, she meets this boy named Kostos, who she finds out that her grandparents and his grandparents don't get along, but she is very attracted to him, and during their meetings they get along super well and they're interested in each other, but it's kind of forbidden because of their grandparents' longtime rivalry. Whereas in the book, when she gets to Greece with her little sister Effie, who is not in the movie, Kostos is introduced pretty early on, and her grandparents are like pushing Lena and Kostos together. They're like, we love him and his family. He's so perfect for you. He's so attractive and you're so pretty. You'd be the perfect couple. And Lena is like, no, not interested. I didn't come here to meet a boy. But what happens in the book is Lena is swimming in her underwear in like a lake or whatever, and Kostos arrives because apparently it's his secret spot where he likes to swim, and Lena gets out, covers herself up hastily and puts her clothes on all haphazard and runs off. And when she gets to her house, her grandma is there and she's like, Lena, what happened? And all Lena says is that Kostos is not a nice boy. It gives her grandma the wrong impression that Kostos did something to her physically. And so her grandma goes over to Kosos's grandparents' house and starts yelling at them, and their families get into a fight at that point. And then eventually, obviously, their families make up, Lena and Kosos get together. So yes, that is the entire story. I had a very fun time reading it, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the books to find out more about where these characters go. I'm excited that I know less of the story going forward, so I think I might be a little more surprised. This summer is obviously going to be so different from most other summers. We can't go out and do fun stuff, and so it is fun reading about characters doing fun stuff, and it can kind of feel like, you know, they're my friends and I'm hearing about their adventures, and it is nice to kind of take me out of the current situation. So overall, it's been really fun, and I hope to get to the second book soon, and I will let you know when I have an update there. Has been a very lazy Saturday so far. I am just relaxing with my baby. I've been watching season 36 of Survivor on CBS All Access, trying to catch up. And I've also been spending some time reading the second Sisterhood book. So it's been a really great day. The weather is nice, so we have all our windows open, our front door, getting some fresh air, and it's just been a nice, relaxing weekend at home. My girl Krissa is passed out on the couch. Oh, I just woke her up. Hi, baby girl. Hey, sweetie. Having a good nap? There we go. Got her back to sleep. It has been a busy Monday. As you saw yesterday, we were outside most of the day. We went on a hike at a local state park, which was really nice to get outdoors. I'm a pretty indoorsy person, to be honest, so sometimes I have to be kind of forced to go outside. But that was really nice, just to enjoy nature. There weren't too many people that we crossed paths with, so that was nice. And then today was just a busy day. Obviously getting back into work. I worked from home, and so I'm getting my first chance to read now. It's about 8 p.m. I am only almost 100 pages into the second summer book, but I'm really hoping to get a really good chunk done tonight, maybe even finish it. I don't know. I do have some thoughts so far, so 100 pages in, I have a pretty good feel of the story now, and it's kind of coming back to me that the second movie does not directly follow the second book. The second movie is actually based on the fourth book, which I did not know going into this book. None of it was ringing a bell, so I looked it up. So I'm gonna get to reading, and I will update either when I'm done or probably tomorrow when I have something else to say. Hopefully I can say that I have finished this book. Good morning, guys. It is Tuesday morning. I'm about to get ready, and I thought I would hop on and tell you about the second book, my thoughts on it, because I did finish. Overall, I enjoyed it. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars. The reason I wouldn't give it 4 stars like I gave the first book, mainly because it's less nostalgic for me. Again, I didn't read these books. Before this, I've only seen the movies. And again, the second movie is based on the fourth book, not the second book. So a lot of the things I was reading about, I didn't know about before. So it was less nostalgic. I also want to say I didn't still enjoy it. I definitely did. It's still a super fun story. I love all of the characters. The other kind of criticism I guess I would have, because there are 4 girls that you're following, you can't really dig too deep into their stories because it's not that long of a book. The first one was like 280 pages. And the second one was 350 pages, so it's not that long of a story. So you're kind of getting through the action really quick. You know, you get all the setup stuff at the beginning, you learn what each of their conflicts are, and then you get resolution pretty quickly. And so you don't have too much time to commiserate with them, you know, when they're going through their struggles, or really get into their relationships all that much because you just have so much plot to get through. So I guess that would be my criticism. But then again, I guess that's why it's a 5-book series. You know, throughout the whole series, you get a lot of time with each of the characters. So it makes for a quick read, that's for sure. But I thought I'd go through and just kind of talk about each of the girls' storylines, just so that if you are someone who hasn't read these books before and you're just kind of wanting to find out what happens, then I can tell you. So to start with Bridget, her story is that she goes to Alabama for the summer to meet her maternal grandma, so her mom's mom. And again, Bridget's mom died, and so she hasn't seen her grandma in a long time. And at the start of the book, Bridget looks different than she did in the first one. She has gained some weight, she stopped working out, she stopped playing soccer, she dyed her blonde hair brown, and so she's pretty much unrecognizable is the gist that we get. So she goes to the town, she meets her grandma, she goes to her grandma's house, but she gives her a fake name so that her grandma doesn't know who she is, and she offers to do some odd jobs for her grandma while she's in town. And what she's really doing is trying to find out things about her mom through her grandma. So she ends up cleaning out her grandma's attic, and meanwhile hearing stories from her grandma about her mom and about herself and her twin brother. Other things that happen in the meantime are she reconnects with one of her high school, or one of her childhood kind of crushes, who she used to play soccer with as a kid. She meets him again, he's still playing soccer, and through him she kind of re-finds her love for working out and playing soccer. So she eventually goes back to her old self, and through the summer her grandma realizes who she is. Obviously they kind of rekindle their relationship. She finds out some pretty heavy stuff about her mom, or I guess she already knew some pretty heavy stuff, but she talks about it with her grandma. They end on pretty good terms. Then going on to Tibby. So Tibby goes to a college summer film program where she meets a few new friends, and then she is tasked with the assignment of making a film. So she starts by wanting to make a film about her mom, kind of a comedic biography sort of film. And it ends up being kind of a laugh at her film, where Tibby includes all these clips of kind of embarrassing clips of her mom dealing with her 2 younger siblings and kind of with her crazy frazzled life that she has, which relatable as a mom. And her big conflict is that you know, embarrasses her mom isn't exactly reflective of what Tibby meant the film to be, which was loving. It was a lot more embarrassing. Then the second half of Tibby's story is she ends up making the film about Bailey from the first book, her friend who passed away from cancer. And so then the film ends up being, you know, heartwarming, touching. Her and her mom make up. She also gets closer to Brian, who is the video game player from the first one, but they don't really start with their relationship or anything. They just end up, I think, like holding hands at the end. So nothing too serious, but I do know that Brian sticks around because he's in the movie, which is based on the 4th book. But that's Tibby's story. Lena is staying home this summer after being in Greece last summer. And we start the book by finding out that Lena has broken up with Kostos. And so she's still kind of getting over that when partway through the book, Kostos ends up coming to Lena's house because he came to the States for like a summer internship or a job or something. And Lena and Kostos make up. And so they spend part of the summer together. And then suddenly Kostos disappears, flies back to Greece, and says he can't explain, he just can't be with Lena anymore. So then Lena, of course, is heartbroken again. Then to add insult to injury, to make things even worse, Lena finds out that her grandpa had a stroke in Greece. So Lena's whole family flies to Greece. Once they get there, they find out her grandpa has passed away. So then she has a funeral. And then at the funeral, Lena sees Kostos again and finds out that he has a wife now. And she's obviously confused because he was just saying how much he loved her. They were rekindling everything. So then after the funeral, they connect and Kostas tells her that his wife is pregnant, and that's why they had to get married, because Greece is much more old-fashioned, traditional. Pregnancies like that don't just happen, so they have to get married, and that breaks Lena's heart. The end of Lena's story is something I was also not super satisfied with, because she is back at home after the funeral, after finding all that out, obviously heartbroken. All of her friends come together, all of the girls, to cheer her up, which makes sense. And then at the very end, Carmen brings Lena to a dinner with, I'll get to Carmen in a minute, but with Carmen's date, her kind of boyfriend, and her stepbrother Paul, and then Lena and Paul end up having like a connection. And I don't think that was fully necessary. I don't know if that's going to be fleshed out more in like the third book, but otherwise Lena's story was very emotional. And then Carmen's story, so Carmen is kind of going on dates with this boy named Porter. We don't get much backstory on Porter or his connection with Carmen, but while she's going on dates with this boy, Carmen's mom is going on dates with this new guy, David. And Carmen is not super excited about that. She doesn't want her mom to be dating, so she kind of sabotages that and deletes a message from this guy. So then her mom and this guy end up breaking up. So Carmen's mom goes into kind of a depression, and then, Carmen realizes that that's unfair of her. And so she helps her mom make up with the guy. They get back together. Also, kind of the side story is that Carmen's stepsister, Krista, comes to her town. She's kind of running away from her mom and wanting to be more independent like Carmen. And so Carmen calls Paul to come get Krista because she doesn't know why she's here. And so that's why Paul is in the picture. And that's why, I guess, they all meet up and why Lena and Paul get together. But I didn't really enjoy that part, so I'm just gonna forget that happened. Yeah, and then Carmen and Porter, this guy that she was going on dates with, don't end up together just because Carmen was so distracted when she was on dates with Porter. She wasn't really giving him the full attention that she should have. And so he's like, I'm out, I can't do this. So that is the end of Carmen's story. So again, overall, I enjoyed it. It was also really fun like the first book. There were some emotional parts, but I do kind of wish that it went deeper into those. Like I said, you move so fast into the resolution that you don't get a lot of time to really commiserate with the characters or to really feel what they're feeling. So that would be my critique, but overall I enjoyed it. I think I will give it 3 stars, and then tonight after work I think I will start the third book. So I'm excited to do that, and I will be on when I have another update. Pretty lazy Saturday today. It's raining outside, so we're all feeling lazy and cooped up inside. I got a sleeping baby on my chest. She's the sweetest, and I am reading the third book right now. I'm on page 209, and there's I think like 320 pages or something in this book, so a little over 100 pages to go. I think I'm just gonna save my thoughts for the end, so I will check in with you when I have finished it. Hey guys, it's Saturday night now. I look a little bit like a mess because it's kind of late, at least for me as a mom, because I go to bed at like 9 p.m. now. But I just wanted to hop on because my husband and I just finished watching Parasite on Hulu. If you're not familiar, it's a movie that won the Oscar for Best Picture this year. And so we were really curious as to what it was like. We've heard a lot of good reviews from people online and people we know, like my dad really enjoyed it. So we wanted to watch it, so we did. And it was really good. If you're not familiar, it's a Korean movie, so it's all subtitles, which it's actually the second foreign movie that we've watched in the last week. We just watched Parasite, and then about a week ago we watched The Platform on Netflix, which is in Spanish. And I'm pleasantly surprised in how much I actually have enjoyed these foreign films and how much reading the subtitles really does not affect the film at all for me. And my husband actually said something that I really agreed with, is that it kind of makes it like an experience of reading a book, because you're doing mostly reading, but it kind of combines the two mediums, obviously, because you're reading, but you get still the visual impact of the film. So you know, obviously see what the characters look like and see the scenes and stuff. So that was a really unique way of looking at it, I thought. But yeah, we really enjoyed the medium. We enjoyed the movie. The only other Oscar-nominated movie that we've seen this year is 1917, which is a World War II movie, and I would say I enjoyed that one overall better because I'm just a fan of like suspenseful movies, and I thought that the cinematography of that movie was really something new to me that I really enjoyed. But Parasite has more of an actual plot, and it has more commentary on social statuses, class systems, and rich versus poor, things like that. So yes, definitely recommend if you are at all interested in watching Parasite to now watch it, now that it is on Hulu. To update you on the reading front, I only have like 50 pages or so left of the third book, so I think I will finish that tonight before going to bed, and then I'll probably just hop on and update you tomorrow. Hey guys, it's Monday morning. I did not end up checking in yesterday because it was actually Easter, so I spent my whole day hanging out with my family, and it was a really nice day. I did not get any reading done or anything, so I definitely wanted to hop on now and catch you up on the third book and talk a little bit about the fourth book. So the third book I finished Saturday night, like I mentioned, and I have similar feelings to it as I did the second book, so about a 3-star rating. In regard to the story, so this one's a little different because everyone was pretty localized. They were not all across the world like they have been in some of the past books. I think 3 of the 4 of them were in their hometown in Maryland, and then Bridget was the only one a little bit farther away, but still in the US. So let me start with Bridget. So she was back at soccer camp. I believe the same soccer camp, but it just wasn't in Mexico this time. It was somewhere in the US. Her thing is she's back as a coach, and Eric, the coach that she had a little thing with in the first book, is also back as a coach. And so it starts out very awkward because obviously they ended on kind of weird terms. Eric saying that Bridget was too young for her and them going their separate ways. And when they come back, obviously the attraction is still there. But Bridget learns that Eric has a girlfriend now, so she's a little bit worried about crossing any lines with him. So that's their thing. And eventually they form kind of a friendship, which is nice for Bridget to not be in a relationship. And then Tibby is still back at home, like I said, everyone else is. And she is kind of struggling with her relationship with her family a little bit, and specifically her younger siblings, who are something like 13 and 15 years younger than her. And her younger sister, who is like 5 years old, actually falls out of her upstairs window. And it really scares Tibby straight, kind of, that she really needs to appreciate her family, appreciate her little sister. And so she kind of spends her time getting closer to her family, as well as getting closer to Brian, who's also from the first book. Carmen's story, she actually gets a job at the beginning of the book caring for Lena's grandma, who is staying with Lena's family but needs care because she is elderly, and Carmen helps her get to doctor's appointments and just kind of looks after her. And while at one of her Lena's grandma's doctor's appointment, Carmen runs into a guy there who he actually helps her when Lena's grandma falls, and Carmen is helping her up and to get her to the hospital for a checkup, and now to care for her after she fell. And she continues to run into this guy at the hospital and learns that he, I think, is like a medical student or something. And then Lena's story, she's also at home and she's working at a restaurant, but after her shifts, when she gets done, she's taking an art class in preparation for going to art school. And at this art class, they're using nude models to do form drawing or whatever it's called. I am not an artist, clearly. And Lena's dad walks in, finds out that that's what they're doing in art class. He insists that she leaves the art class, and then says that she can't go to art school anymore. They're not gonna support her financially if she wants to do that. And so Lena then has to figure out a way to get herself to art school. So she starts working on a portfolio that she's going to submit for a merit-based scholarship to the art school. Like I said at the end of the second book, I think her little date with Paul was so unnecessary, and it's even more so because at the beginning of the third book, they're like, yeah, nothing really happened with that. So yeah, she's totally on her own in this story, still getting over Kostos. That is it for the third book. I think just by the way I described it, you can tell that it was nothing super life-changing to me, but I did start the fourth book last night. I'm only like 25 pages in or something, so not far at all. But this book takes place the first summer after they've all been in college for a year. So it's a very different vibe than all of the previous books because they were still in high school together. And this is the first time that they are apart for longer than just a summer. They've been apart for like the whole year. Things are definitely coming back in the beginning of this book because, as I have said before, the second movie is based on this fourth book, so I'm recognizing a lot of these girls' plans and situations. But I am excited to get into the book to talk more about what's different from the movie and hopefully have a really good reading experience for this fourth book. Good news, I have finished the fourth book. I'm trying to be quiet because my baby is napping, so I'm gonna keep this quick and quiet, but it read pretty quickly, and I have to say that it followed the second movie quite closely. So I don't have a ton of notes about things that are different or anything, but I will go ahead and wrap up everybody's storyline. So to start with, we've got Carmen, who is at a summer theater program, and this whole book takes place the summer after their first year of college. So it's unique in that they've already been apart the whole school year because it sounds like they all go to different schools. So Carmen is at a summer theater program where she's rooming with this girl named Julia, who is an actress, super serious about it. And Carmen is kind of hoping to work on the sets, kind of be a behind the scenes person. And Carmen ends up accidentally auditioning, and she actually ends up getting like one of the lead female roles, which makes her roommate not so happy because that was the role she was going for. And Carmen is not an actress, and she kind of feels like an imposter, and so she kind of realizes that this other girl is not a real friend if she's not supporting Carmen and actually wanting her to succeed. And then let's see, Tibby's part in this book is pretty extreme. So she and Brian are dating at the beginning, and they end up doing it for the first time, and Tibby has a pregnancy scare, so that kind of consumes her life for a couple weeks as she's waiting for her sign to come that she's not pregnant. And eventually it does come, she's not pregnant, but it really kind of rocks her relationship with Brian. They end up breaking up, and then a funny thing that happens is that Effie, Lena's little sister, ends up wanting to date Brian, which bothers Tibby, but she can't say that because she's the one who broke up with Brian, so a lot of boy drama in Tibby's life. Also some boy drama with Lena because she and Kostos are still broken up from the end of the last book, and Lena is at a summer art program at her school, and she's in like a painting class or an art class where they have nude models, and she meets this guy there named Leo who is also an artist, and they end up working on an arrangement to pose for each other to paint. And so Lena kind of starts a relationship with that guy. She still has feelings for Kostos, so she's a little confused. And in the end, Lena realizes that she's still not over Kostos. Kostos ends up not with his lady anymore in Greece. They get a divorce, which is kind of frowned upon in the Greek culture, I guess. And then Lena and Kostos do end up getting back together at the end. Bridget's story, she is actually in Turkey for the summer doing like archaeology work, which hers is very out of the blue. Archaeology is not a passion that we see from Bridget in any of the other books, so it seems kind of random. Nothing to do with soccer, which she had been so passionate about in all the other books. And she is still dating Eric, the coach from her soccer camp the previous summers, but they're long distance for the summer, and so Bridget kind of struggles with flirting with other guys and wondering if her and Eric can last through that distance. And then at the very end of the book, kind of a laughable thing happens where Effie, Lena's little sister, is so upset because Tibby and Brian end up getting back together. So Effie's a little heartbroken. She flies off to Greece, and then she, in spite, brings the traveling pants. She steals them from Lena's room and brings them, and then she ends up losing them in Greece. And then all of the 4 girls in the US band together and are like, we're gonna fly to Greece together and find the pants. So they all somehow buy tickets to Greece, which is super unrealistic for, you know, freshmen in college, I think, to have enough money for each of them to fly to Greece on a whim, but whatever, overlooking that, they don't end up finding the pants. So that is the end of the traveling pants in physical form, and they kind of go through this realization that all the pants were really doing was giving them an excuse to be apart for so long, and thinking that if they send the pants back and forth, then they don't have to see each other as kind of a substitute, and realizing that that's not really right. They should make more of an effort to actually see each other more often. Now that they're in college, in separate places, they don't have the school year to come back and bond them together, so they have to make more of an effort. So that is where they leave off the 4th book. I am about to start the 5th book on audio. I think the audiobook is 10 hours long, so I'm hoping to put it on double speed and whip through it today in a few hours. And in a very short synopsis that I saw, it looks like it takes place 10 years in the future. So very excited to see what happens and where all of the girls end up. Okay, you guys, nobody told me how sad this 5th book is. Major spoilers ahead, so again, if you are planning on reading this series anytime soon, don't watch this because this is a huge spoiler. But it is 10 years into the future. They're turning 30 and Tibby's dead, which is shocking, and we don't really know what exactly happened to her yet. It first seemed like it was an accident, and now it's seeming like it might have been a suicide. And I'm kind of nervous for how this is going to turn out. I was kind of expecting this 5th book to kind of just be fan service, you know, where they are, they're probably all happy, but no, it's turning out to be a lot deeper so far than I was expecting. So I will keep you posted as I finish it, what ends up happening, and how I feel about it. Monday morning, April 27th, I think, and I've got some updates for you. So the first and most notable update is that I have finished Sisterhood Everlasting, which is so exciting. I finished the Sisterhood series, so I guess we'll start with my thoughts on that. So as I said in my first update, this book is very, very sad. We start with the girls they're 10 years in the future, and they are all in totally different places in their lives, and it's clear that they haven't been in touch with each other for a while. Especially Tibby has been very distant to them. She had moved to Australia to live with Brian, and the girls really hadn't heard from her since. And then they mysteriously get communication from her that Tibby has bought each of them tickets to Greece, and that they are to meet her there, and so that they can catch up and that she can fill them in on her life and everything like that. And so all of the girls are super excited. And when they get to Greece, Tibby is not there. And so they're all kind of wondering what's happening. Is this like a trick she's playing on them? Is this part of the surprise, is her being late, or is something actually wrong? And as more and more time passes, they realize that something must be wrong because Tibby wouldn't do this. And then, so they call the, Greek police and try to report a missing person, and eventually they come back and say that they found a body and that they think it's Tibby's. And so, of course, that is super tragic. And the girls are left to kind of wonder, was this an accident? Is this something Tibby did on purpose? They all find letters that Tibby has written them, and so it seems like her disappearance and her death has been intentional. So the rest of the book is them reading their letters, kind of figuring out what happened to Tibby, and figuring out kind of how to be in each other's lives again 10 years later. So some of the updates of the other ladies and where they are 10 years in the future. Carmen, it turns out, is a major actress, and she, I guess, is pretty famous, and she's gotten like a recurring role on a big TV show. And she is engaged to a man named Jones, weird name, who she's not in love with, and that's clear. And throughout the book, she's kind of realizing that about herself, that she doesn't want to marry Jones. And, Tibby's death kind of teaches her that life is too short to do stuff you're unhappy with and to not make really deep connections with the people in your life. Lena is a teacher, I believe, and shocker, she's still getting over Kostos. So at the beginning of the book, she's with another guy, I think his name is Drew. They're just dating, and she also realizes that he's not the one for her, and so she kind of goes on this journey to find Kostos again. Again, he's living with another woman, and although they're not married, he says that, she was kind of the next best thing since he couldn't have Lena. Then of course they get together, they make up, and maybe this time it'll last, who knows. And then Bridget, 10 years in the future, is still with Eric, and I actually can't remember what she does for a job, if anything, but it sounds like Eric is successful. She's pretty broke. They're only dating, I think, not engaged or married. And Bridget finds out through this book that she is pregnant, and so she's dealing with that on top of, you know, her grief for Tibby and everything. And she kind of distances herself from Eric, kind of pushes him away, and she decides to fly to Australia, which is where Tibby was living, and try to find some answers about her life. And so when she goes there, she finds Brian, who Tibby was married to, and she also finds a little girl who is Tibby and Brian's daughter. And they named her Bailey after the girl from the first book. And so Bridget is kind of realizing that Tibby had this whole life that she never told any of the girls about, and this whole life that why would she ever want to leave it? And so, you know, all the girls kind of find out things individually through their letters and just through, you know, their self-exploration and their exploration of Tibby's life, and they find out that Tibby had a degenerative disease that was going to cause her to die anyway. And she did want to get the girls together one last time to kind of update them all on her life and, you know, kind of put a closing chapter on their friendship, but she died before that could even happen. So total tragedy. The girls felt very disconnected through it, and it did kind of help some of them get closer, but it also made them realize that, you know, that chapter of their lives was a really great chapter, but they really have to make sure that their current and future chapters are just as fulfilling. So I thought that was a very emotional and good ending to the series. It was way more emotional than I thought it was going to be, and that's kind of what I've been saying that I wanted from the books, was a little more depth and for you to really feel for the characters, and that's what I got in this one. So I think I'm going to rate this last book 4 stars. So in summary, the first book and the last book were 4 stars, and books 2, 3, and 4 were all 3 stars for me. So a great reading experience. I am glad to have this series under my belt, and I don't know that I would necessarily recommend this to you as a reader if you haven't read it, or to young adults, or even to my daughter to read in the future, just because there's nothing amazing about this series. There's nothing that, you know, I don't think you can get from any other book series. The only thing I would say is if you know, have watched the movies or you hear the plot and it sounds really enticing to you, then maybe. But for me, this was mostly nostalgic and fun and nothing much more than that. So with that, I have a couple other things to talk about. So like I said, today is Monday the 27th, and I was actually hoping to have this vlog done by today and uploaded, but you know what? Life got in the way, and that's okay. Yesterday was actually my dad's birthday, so we spent that day at my parents' house. We played yard games, we hung out outside. Carissa got to touch the grass for the first time, so it was just a really fun, relaxing day with my family. And I probably should have been, you know, editing this vlog and getting it uploaded for this morning to be on my schedule, but family comes first and mental health comes first. I definitely don't want to kill myself over what should be a hobby for me, and so I just kind of wanted this to be a reminder to any of you who make content, if it really is stressing you out and you're noticing a decline in your relationships or your mental health, to just give yourself grace. I am giving myself grace. I'm deviating from my upload schedule, but it's the best thing for me to do, and I feel okay with it, and you should too. So that's just kind of a public service announcement from someone who's also feeling a lot right now. But overall, a big thank you for watching my very first reading vlog. I definitely have learned some things from this experience, and I'm looking forward to doing future vlogs. Look out for my Owls Readathon vlog, which will be coming very soon. Not sure exactly what date because I have to rework my schedule now, but hope you're having a great day,